Hey everybody, and welcome back. The title that we're going to discuss today is Broken Trail, which is a Western book and movie. First, I'm going to give you a few facts about the book and the movie. The book was published in 2006 by author Alan Jeffriam. And an interesting fact is that the author of this book was also the screenwriter for the movie. This was also his first book and movie that he produced at 59 years of age. The movie was also released in 2006, very shortly after his book was published. Two of the main characters are played by Thomas Hayden Church and Robin Duvall, as you can see on the cover here. And interestingly enough, the title of the book is very similar to the cover of the movie. They both have very similar pictures on it that both depict the main characters of the film. So I ended up watching the movie first because at that point in time I was not aware that there was a book for it. So the movie was a little bit over 3 hours long, and imagine my surprise when I bought the book and this was all there was to the book. It was 239 pages, and I was very wary about reading it, to be honest, because I did not know how they could get a little over 3 hours worth of film time in a book that was less than 250 pages. But I was very pleasantly surprised. Both the book and the movie go along the same plot line. Both begin where Tom, who is played by Thomas Hayden Church, his mother dies and leaves everything that she owns to Print, who is Tom's uncle, who is also played by Robert Duvall. And Print and Tom get together and make a plan of transferring horses to Wyoming to sell them to the army to make money. Along the way, on their journey to sell the horses, they run into these 5 Chinese girls who were sold into prostitution, and they end up acquiring these girls, and they want to find somewhere where they can go. Another thing that's the same about the book and the movie is these Chinese girls cannot speak English, and therefore their communication with Tom and Print is very minimal. So Print decides to give them numbers as names. He numbers them 1 through 5. Nobody wants to be number 4 because it's a Chinese superstition that the number 4 represents death. And interestingly enough, the Chinese girl who was numbered 4 was the only Chinese girl to die in the book. Speaking of number 4's death, that was also depicted very much the same in the book as it was in the movie. Number 4 gets depressed over everything that's happened to her, and she decides to commit suicide. So that's the same in both the book and the movie. The character of Billy Fender is depicted very much the same in the book as it is in the movie. He is the character who has purchased these 5 Chinese girls and has planned to use them for prostitution. He comes upon Tom and Print, and they decide to have supper together, and he ends up drugging Tom and Print. And while they're asleep, he ends up stealing their horses, and he takes number 4 and he tries to run away, but Tom ends up catching up with him, and he kills him, and he takes the horses and number 4 back. There's also one of the Chinese girls, Sun Fui, and she, in both the movie and the film, she takes on a motherly role to the other Chinese girls, and there's also a romance between her and Tom. And in both the movie and the book, they do get married. So although there were a lot of similarities between the book and the movie, which is expected considering the author of both the book and the screenwriting was by the same person, there were a lot of differences. One difference is that Tom in the book was depicted as having red hair. And I am a stickler for redheads, and it's always a small disappointment when I watch the movie and it's not there, but he does not have red hair in the film. Then there were a couple major differences. One major difference was the character of Billy Vi. He is a very prominent character in the beginning of the book, but he is not mentioned at all in the movie. Billy Vi had an accident, and he has an opening on the side of his stomach which leaks excretion, and nobody ever wants to be around him or have anything to do with him because it smells very bad. So he takes this opportunity to join Tom and Print at the beginning of their journey to earn money, and that way he can keep his distance and the smell won't affect them, and he'd be able to do something. Another major difference is the Chinese girl number 2, Mai Ling, dies in the movie, whereas she survives in the book. The only girl to die in the book is number 4. But in the movie, number 2 dies. She gets bit by a tick, and it gives her a fever and it ends up killing her. The ending is also completely different in the movie and the book. In the book, it was more of a private encounter between Print and a villain. In the movie, it's way more dramatic. It involves way more people. The setting is at this house. People are being held hostage. Tom comes in and saves the day, and he makes a miraculous shot at the end and ends up killing the outlaw. So the ending in both the book and the film are very different. Now I'll be interviewing somebody to get their impression of the book and the movie and get their opinion on it as well. Alright everybody, so for our interview today for The Broken Trail, we have Wesley. Wesley, thank you for agreeing to do an interview for The Broken Trail for me. Alright, so I just got a couple questions for you, and then I of course want you to tell me which one that you liked better.
Sounds good.
So our first question, what do you think of the absence of Billy Vi in the movie?
Well, I don't really understand why he wasn't in the movie. It sort of left a big hole as far as I'm concerned. It's not real believable that Robert Duvall and Thomas Hayden Church took a whole herd of horses that size for the first part of their journey with no help whatsoever. I think if he had been there like he was in the book, it seems like a whole lot more realistic of a scenario. So I honestly, I didn't like that he wasn't there. I think that he should have been in the movie, and it seemed like it left. Once I read the book and saw that it was in it, that was one of the things that I thought they really left out. They shouldn't have left out.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Once I read the book and I saw how he wasn't like a huge character, but he was a very influential character in the first part of the book. So I was actually very surprised when I figured out he was not in the movie, whereas he played such a part of the book. Your second question, do you think it had a bigger impact on the book where number 2 lives, or in the movie where she died from the tick bite?
To be honest, I thought it was a lot sadder that she died, but I feel like it had more of an impact on the viewer when she did die. It sort of gives you more of an emotional investment, when you see these 5 girls come along and then one of them faces a situation that in that period of time would have been realistic. That's something that happened. It would have been a fairly normal occurrence, and for something like that to happen with them just thrown out in the middle of the wilderness, basically, I feel like it, in a way, more believable, and it had a lot more an emotional impact, and like I said earlier, it gives more of an emotional investment for the viewer, because you sort of just tears your heart apart.
Yeah, I do have to agree. It was a very sad part of the movie, but I do believe it delivered a higher emotional rate than when she lived in the book. Okay, so for your last question, what did you think of the ending of the book and the movie, and which one did you like better?
To me, the ending of the movie seemed a lot more dramatic, because even though the scenario didn't change that much, you had Ed Bywater come to basically get a hold of Frank Ritter and was going to kill him, and then Tom comes in and saves the day. It happens in both stories, so it's really what happens isn't that much different. But when you get everybody involved, all the girls, everybody's there in the middle of it, and then Heck gets killed in the movie where he didn't in the book. I feel like it was a lot more dramatic in the movie, and to be honest, I liked it better because there was so much more happened, so much more detail. Where in the book, it just seemed like it took maybe 2 pages. Page and a half, 2 pages for everything to happen, where in the movie it was 5-10 minute scenes, something like that. So I just felt like the movie was a better ending, and overall I liked the movie better. Most of the time I enjoyed the book better than I knew the movie, but in this situation it just felt like the book left so much out that the movie covered in it. So I liked the movie a lot better.
Okay, so I think you answered my last question. My last question was which one you liked better, the book or the movie. So your pick would be the movie.
Yes, my pick was the movie. I enjoyed it much more than the book. Oh, the book was an excellent book. I enjoyed it too, but I would definitely choose the movie.
Okay, well, thank you so much for interviewing with me today. I appreciate all of your time and your opinion. Alright, so now you've heard all about the book, you've heard all about the movie, and you've heard what our interview thinks about each. As for my opinion, I enjoyed both the movie and the book, but as for my pick, I would definitely have to say that the movie was better. It gives a whole lot more that the book does not. Things happen so much differently, and from a less than 250 page book, you get a little over 3-hour movie. So there's so much more in the movie that's not found in the book, and there's so much more detail and action. And I think this is just an excellent movie, and I would have to say that I prefer it over the book. So thank you all for viewing with me today. Which one did you like better? Did you like the book or the movie? So does anybody like the circus or like elephants? If so, stay tuned for my next video where we'll be going over the book and the movie Water for Elephants.